After Sam Carter was murdered in the Florida forest near Rosewood, word spread quickly.
Ran into the house and told my sister, so you get Robbie ready and yourself ready. Fine, I'll put on good heavy clothes because it was very cold.
By the mid-1920s, you had leading politicians throughout the country who were either clandestinely or publicly members of the Klan.
Down in Rosewood, Florida, Robbie Morton's father was fighting back the only way he could. He was trying to get his family out of town before the murderous pack came storming in. Of all the places in America, it should not have happened here. Rosewood was an African-American community in a rural backwater 3 miles from the white-owned sawmill town of Sumner. One of the heroes of Rosewood's defense was a young man by the name of Sylvester Carrier. It's impossible to see now just how this hero of 1923 looked. As with the town itself, almost no traces of Sylvester Carrier are left. He has to be conjured up through the recollections of the very few people left who can remember him.
He was an aggressive type of a black man. He was more or less a leader.
Now, like a predator smelling blood, a new wave of whites began arriving in Rosewood, some by car and most carrying weapons. Their target, Sylvester Carrier, was making a stand at his family home. Sylvester was armed and had brought his family together for protection from all around Rosewood. The white mob was gathering in the trees. 2 men in particular took the lead, firebrands who kept the racial flames stoked.
Henry Andrews, who was the logging boss, and Polly Wilkerson, who had been a deputy sheriff, lead a group of whites to Sylvester Carrier's house to get some sort of information from him, and ostensibly this would have meant roughing him up. Henry Andrews is nicknamed Boots because he's reputed to kick his workers out in the logging camps.
As Andrews and Wilkerson and the rest of the white mob besieged the Carrier house, the family dog barked the first warning of trouble. The mob called for Sylvester's mother, Sarah, to bring out the women and children. They only wanted her son, they said. Sarah ignored them. Only the dog acknowledged the mob's presence with his incessant barking.
They would come in and call Aunt Sarah. So Aunt Sarah didn't answer. And so the dog went to barking outside, and he shot the dog first. Then turned around and shot through the window and killed Aunt Sarah.
The night then exploded in gunfire. The mob raking the house with salvo after salvo, Sylvester returning the fire. It was then that Polly Wilkerson and Henry Andrews took the fateful decision that would make them part of Rosewood's dark history.
Polly Wilkerson come up to the door and called, said, open this door, open this door. Nobody said nothing.
It fell quiet as the mob retreated to tend to their wounded and to rearm. It was dark and confused in the silent Carrier house, and the family quietly decided to get out while they could. The children, still in their nightclothes, were led out the back of the house, down a trail, and to the only place that offered them any sanctuary, the cold, dark Florida woods.
That's when we sleep in the swamp all night, 3 days and 3 nights. We stay out there in the woods in that cold.
One of the Carrier aunts took charge, keeping them out of sight for 3 days, trying to find them food, trying to keep them warm, trying to calm their destruction throughout the town. Before it would end, every home belonging to a black family was burned down, every church, the Masonic hall which housed the school, everything. From their hiding places in the woods, the children could more than just hear what was happening. They could see the flames and the smoke.
God, it was burning our house down. And that fire was leaping across that railroad track like everything. or that they couldn't pick, they burn it up.
For miles around, the flames of Rosewood could be seen. Even by Robbie Morton's family, the family that had escaped early on and was now 20 miles away. Scoggins is now the owner of their home, one Rosewood house that was not burned down in 1923.
There were mobs in town looking for blacks, burning houses, and just generally on the rampage. John and Mary Wright, they hid some black women and children.
Unofficially, it became one of those shameful, dark secrets some communities guard from the eyes of the outside world. When Doyle Scoggins moved to the area 60 years later and bought the historic Wright residence, no one told him the story of the house or the town.
It was several years before I heard the first rumors.
There were other examples of white courage. Two white railroad workers, brothers John and William Bryce, brought a train from Cedar Key. They steamed slowly through Rosewood swamps to rescue the women and children in hiding.
The passenger train picked up one group.
Most Americans cannot fathom it happening in this country. Today, state or federal authorities would take quick action in an effort to curb the violence. Rosewood was isolated.